Welcome to Talking Giants player profiles and projections brought to you by Captain Morgan. And today we are looking at Evan Neal and Jordan Phillips. Going to start with Evan Neal, 6'7", 340 pounds, 24 years old, was the 7th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. And there's no other way around it besides the fact that he's been a major disappointment so far in the NFL, right? Missed 4 games his rookie year. In those 13 games, allowed 7 sacks, 10 hits, and 22 pressures. Had the second worst pass blocking efficiency in the NFL. In a passing game that tried to protect him. Played in 7 games last year, missed 10, right? Sprained his ankle and missed 2 games, and then broke his ankle on a misdiagnosed sprained ankle that has him on PUP to start training camp. But in those games, he gave up 2 sacks, 5 hits, and 22 pressures. 65th out of 73 in pass blocking efficiency last year for offensive tackle. So it's hard to say, like, oh, what is Evan Neal going to be besides what he has been, which is a disappointment because there was improvements in his game last season, but it still didn't make much of a difference at the end of the day.
No, and that's why it's as bad as it could possibly be, because he did get better. And it was still, like you said, bottom 3, bottom 2 in a lot of these categories, man. And it may not be fair because Evan Neal does deserve a shot, right? He deserves a shot to compete because of the first-round pick, yada, yada, yada. But, man, I've moved off. Like, he's not part of – I don't think he's part of the long-term plans of the Giants either. You know, you kind of heard that during Hard Knocks when they were listing the offensive linemen that they kind of have as a core for the next couple years. But I don't even have him as part of the plans, Bobby, in 2024. Forget after that.
In reality, we have to forget that he's a 7th overall pick, right? And treat him like anyone else, like he's not going to get cut. But, like, make him earn everything that he has on this roster, right? Like he'll be at bare minimum the swing tackle for this team, and I think he deserves that over the other guys on the roster. And like, rather have him at swing tackle than Josh Zudu or Joshua Miles or whoever.
I agree with that.
So, like, in a sense, his play has earned him that role on this team, but he's not going to be one of the better swing tackles in the NFL. No. But every rep that he gets in an NFL game needs to be earned, right? And if it's really bad, if when he does play, it's really bad this year, like if it's similar to what he's done the last 2 years, right, which was second to worst in pass blocking efficiency and 65th out of 73, then you need to look like past even just him being on the roster or having him as a 4th tackle and look to upgrade the swing tackle, because you can't have your swing tackle like Tyree Phillips was a better player than him, and he was the Giants swing tackle last year. So there's upgrades that they can have at that spot. But so he needs to earn everything that he has in the NFL, because there were improvements in his game last year, right? Which is crazy to say, but there was like some noticeable improvements. Like he did a good job getting quicker out of his stance. Right, that was a huge issue his rookie year.
Stance changed first.
It was just slow getting off the ball, and guys beat him immediately. Like he was quicker on his stance. I actually think he was better like with contact balance once he was connected. Right, if a guy didn't win that initial move, I thought he did a good job of staying connected. But you also saw all the other issues, right, with pass blocking. Right, like he still struggles with balance. Like that's still an issue with him. He struggles with speed on that third read step. Right, where it's 1, 2. And that third step, he just struggles with the speed of the game and gets beat to the corner, and that's where some of the unbalance and head heaviness shows up. His punches, I think, are mistimed and misplaced. And, when we do get to see him in training camp, that's, item number 1 I'm looking at, right? I thought his punches were awful last year, right? Will Carmen Bracilla do some things to change up on it? Will they let him get a little more vertical? So, like, I haven't given up, like, all hope in Evan Neal, but what I have given up is, like, any benefit of the doubt. Like, he has to show from day one to earn any playing time, right? Like, if he doesn't show that he's progressed, he shouldn't be the starter week 1 if all things are equal.
No, and Tyree Phillips has outperformed him. And I think the offense has just been better. I mean, especially last year where, the 4-year window that he missed in 2022, I mean, those were 4 losses, and that was the Giants' roughest offensive stretch. But I think the tackle play has been better. And
it was the worst Tyree Phillips that year, and it was still better than.
And overall, man, like you think of the times where Evan Neal is on the field and then off the field. I know a lot of fans say, hey, you still have to believe in Evan Neal. Hey, the guy's been hurt. The guy's been injured. He's got to turn around. I get it.
That's part of the conversation, though, too, is he's been consistently injured.
But think about when Evan Neal's off the field, you're feeling better about the offensive line. And that is a very, very bad spot to be in.
And that's part of the conversation is the injuries, right? Missed 10 games last year, missed 4 games his rookie year, and this is on 3 different injuries. He had some stuff that that he played through the rookie year. So now again, there's better moments on a down in, down out basis last year, right? Like even the game he left versus or got injured versus the Raiders, like he actually did a fairly good job against Max Crosby, and I thought the biggest difference was getting out of his stance quicker, right? That was you need to do or you just can't be in the NFL type thing. But he did show he was better once connected, right? Like where his rookie year, you would see these plays where guys were able to just get underneath him and jack him up and get him off balance. Where you saw him get better at once he's connected to stay balanced, which I don't, maybe you can put him at guard if you're in desperation, like say next year, right? Or even this year at some point. But that gives me a little more hope that, okay, maybe it could work at guard. Because before, if you're going off his rookie year table, like nothing about this shows someone who can succeed at guard. But you did see him better once connected. But you also saw a lot of quick wins by defensive ends or whoever he was matched up where they would just beat him quickly, smoothly, and embarrass him.
Yeah, I think he does deserve the chance to compete at guard. It may not be this year. I'm kind of resigned. I resigned myself to the fact that it's not this year.
I think he's a tackle. But, I'm saying next year there's a desperation heave to get something out of
it.
Yeah,
I think it's the only way to save his NFL career, in my opinion.
You don't think? I mean, we've seen tackles have really bad first 2 years and become playable.
This bad?
You've had, Garrett Bowles. No, I don't think he's going to. But I think he can get to playable, right? Tyree Phillips. Like there's guys. I think he can get to being, possibly an average tackle. I don't think we're ever getting to good tackle, but I think there is a path to average tackle. And when you have Andrew Thomas on your team, that is someone that you can. And I know Joe Shane. Didn't joke said like we could go back and watch the Alabama tape, but that is somewhere in there with him.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not a justification to play him, but there is that level of play somewhere in there.
And we've seen him when he sets vertically, he does look more comfortable. I think that was a huge part of. I think they made him think way too much.
And I think he deals with I think he deals with confidence issues now, right? Which. Again, I don't know how those are fixed when he's going to start. He's starting the training camp for the Giants on PUP, right? And that's the word. It's like, well, how much has he been able to improve when he's been dealing with an injury that has him out of training camp?
And they misdiagnosed him last year, which the Giants did a nice job of trying to screw him there too. So yeah, I think Evan Neal is a victim of being overthinking. Maybe Bobby Johnson is throwing way too much at him. I think he's a smart dude. Clearly, you're playing in Alabama. You're playing under Nick Saban. So.
That's an underrated bad part about Evan Neal. I hate to do a player profile where we're just trashing a guy, but it's the reality. Is the mental mistakes. There's a lot of mental mistakes that he makes in both areas of the game. It was pointed out to me by somebody, and I went back and looked. We always give Tyrod Taylor hell for that last play of the half versus the Buffalo Bills where he checked into a run play. Yeah. Right, and rightfully so. Evan Neal totally blocks the wrong guy there. And if Evan Neal blocks the right guy there, Saquon Barkley probably scores, and we're talking about how ballsy it is to run the ball there with no timeouts left. And those happened a lot, right? And part of the Giants putting John Runyon at right guard, and even though he prefers left guard, is the fact that they want John Runyon to be able to talk to Evan Neal and get Evan Neal
to help him.
Get Evan Neal in the right spots. But
so it screws Jermaine Alamuno, who's a better right tackle, and then it screws John Runyon, who feels more comfortable on the other side, all to help a player who I have absolutely zero faith in. And again, I feel bad just ripping the guy apart, but I don't think the Giants are as tied to him, and they may use the injuries and the ankle. They may use it as a little bit of an out, but we'll see how it develops and goes forward.
Yeah, and you don't want to give up on him.
You can't.
But he has to prove his playing things. Even like miss assignments in the run game. There's a lot of bad run film too, where it's like you're firing out with your head first. You're taking bad first steps. You're struggling to get out in space, and it's just last year when we were doing this PPP. And there was this like, hey, Andrew Thomas, right? Andrew Thomas rookie year. But I said at the end of last year's O-line year in review report, that, one, I don't want to hear it after year two, but even after year one, it was nuts because what Andrew Thomas did the second half of his rookie year, one, he just grew. He grew.
There was a trajectory.
Yeah. But the film that he put on tape the second half of his rookie year was miles better than anything we had ever seen about Evan Neal.
Yeah.
Better than every single game of the second half of the season. Even that game versus the Cardinals where he gave up 2 sacks was better film on a down in, down out basis than anything we had ever seen out of Evan Neal. So, like, I think after year two, people have given up on that idea of, oh, well, look what happened to Andrew Thomas. But I do look at the player from Alabama, and I do look at some of the improvements from last year and think that there's a chance that he can get to become an average tackle, an average right tackle in the NFL. I haven't totally given up on that, but like I said, the main thing for him is he should earn every bit of playing time that he gets.
I actually think that he could be a guard. Like I'm not. He
did play guard in college, right?
Yeah.
And I'm someone who struggles with speed and balance. You know, that it could also be worse, right? Like you see his issues in the run game. How much are you going to put him out in space and pull? Like it could be worse, but at the end of the day, especially with the Giants roster right now, I think that would be a 2025. Can we get anything out of this guy type?
Yeah, and then they don't have the problem is they don't have any depth at tackle. So Evan Neal being a swing tackle is not the worst thing in the world. I would sign up for that.
Yeah, for this year, like I don't think you can move him to guard unless you went out and signed another tackle.
Right.
But if it's a struggle this year, then I would throw the Hail Mary of guard. Like decline his option, sign a swing tackle to play behind Eleanor, and try guard. Just try it.
Yeah, and basically, I think it's, are you going to have a Tevin Jenkins path, which that's absolutely best case scenario where it was bad at tackle, found a home at guard, or is your career wind up being Alex Leatherwood, who didn't play a single snap in 2023 and is a backup guard for the Los Angeles Chargers?
Absolutely. All right, who was this player profile projection brought to us?
Oh, you want to know what makes me a little bit more happier, a little bit more excited than Evan Neal, and it's Captain Morgan. That's right. They're with us. They're going to be sponsoring every single Talkin' Giants episode this year, but also they are sponsoring our Camp Summer Series. They're with us for the live streams. They're with us for the PPPs. They're even with us for our van interview series. The official spice rum of the NFL, Captain Morgan is. And with the NFL season upon us, you need the right players in the right spots and in the right game, and you need Captain Morgan, the official spice rum of the NFL. It's a big brand for us. It's a blue chick brand.
They're the captain now.
Visit CaptainMorgan.com to find Captain near you. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan, the official spice rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company, New York, New York. Please, you know what I want you to do? I want you to tweet at Captain Morgan. Talking Giants versus the world. Thanks for hopping on with the Talking Giants guys. You'll be glad you did.
And if you don't drink responsibly, I'll fight you. All right, Justin, let's talk about Jordan Phillips, a defensive tackle, 6'6", 340 pounds. He's 31 years old, and the Giants signed him on a vet minimum contract. He has an opportunity to come in and start after being someone who's had a career high snap share of 54%, and his last time being over 50 was 2019. Started his career with the Dolphins, spent 2 years with the Bills, 2 years with the Cardinals, and then back to the Bills the last 2 years. Like I said, he's got a chance to be the second defensive tackle on this team, and at bare minimum, he's someone who's getting 30% of the snaps.
Yeah, I think the most fun part about Jordan Phillips is that he shows things in flashes. He is a little bit of an older guy. He's 31. He's going to be turning 32 throughout the season. I like this signing at the time that we made it. Made it a little bit later in free agency. This is a guy that has found some success with the Buffalo Bills. Flashes is just the biggest theme that I have with Jordan Phillips, where he'll show you some really fun, awesome plays, whether it's through strength, whether it's with his hands, some quick pass rushing moves at times too. But then there'll be times where that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, and he's dealt with injuries. He's missed 23 of the last 67 games. Like, flashes are the exact way to explain it. Like, you see these flashes as a like he is the second best pass rushing defensive tackle on the team after
without
Dexter
a doubt.
Lawrence.
Without a doubt.
And like you said, it's without a doubt. He had 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, and 14 pressures last year in 14 games. for defensive tackles was 43rd of 77 in pass rush production, 63rd of 77 in win rate. But that's miles better than the other defensive tackles on the roster of Jordan Riley, DJ Davidson, Nacho. Which again, it's not great. It's not a great spot for the Giants' defensive tackle spot to be in, but he is the clear second best of those guys, and he's had some outlier years, right? Like in 2021, he had a 20% pass rush win rate on true pass blocking sets, right? That's an outlier year.
It's a really good
2019, he had 9.5 sacks and 13 tackles for a loss, but he actually had worse production on a per snap basis and pass rush win rate than he did this last season, where he had 2.5 sacks and 20 total sacks, hits, and pressures. So he is someone who's just hasn't shown the consistency, but what he has shown is he's someone who can finish at the quarterback.
Yeah. Can I tell you the funnest thing about Jordan Phillips, and the thing that I just keep going back to, and this is something that I knew about even before he was a New York Giant?
What's that?
27% of Jordan Phillips' career sacks have came within the first 3 games of the season, and it's very notable that his week 1 in his NFL career is pretty bizarre. Basically almost like the first game that he plays. So 2015 and 2016, registered a sack week 1. 2018, registered a sack week 2. 2019, week 3. 2022, he had a sack and a half against the Los Angeles Rams in a game that he absolutely dominated. That was week 1. And then 2023 with the Bills, he also got a sack week 1. 2022, a sack and a half. That was all the sacks that he had in the season, right? He only had a sack and a half in 2022. Yeah. And then 2023, he got 1 of his 2.5 sacks week 1. So, moral of the story is Jordan Phillips. Moral of the story for you listening to this, watching this. Get ready to see a Jordan Phillips at least 1 sack on opening day against the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, and he's never been a guy who's gotten a lot of sacks anyway. I mean, he has one year over 3, which is 9.5, and then 1 year over 2, which was 3 sacks in 2021.
But think of all the years that he's gotten 1 sack on opening day, and that represents half or 33% of his sack production that year.
So, but like he's someone who can win quickly at the snap, right? Like with quick moves, working laterally, using his hands. And that's how he plays in the run, too. For someone that's that size, you would think he's more of a 2-gapper, but he's just never going to be that. He's kind of a quick first step, play your gap and penetrate, which Shane Bowen is going to ask him to do and give him a little freedom. But at the end of the day, like his role for this Giants defense, I really think is mainly third down. He's not going to just play on third down.
Right.
But I think when you're on third down, besides, third down or passing downs, I think it's just he's obvious the best choice you have out there, right? Like it's clear cut. The only other guy who can maybe challenge for that is a Ryder Anderson.
So he's played 44%, 43%, 50%, and then even 43% the last 4 years, snaps that he's been eligible to play. Have been some years where he's missed time due to injury. I think 40% is a safe number. 40 to 45% is a safe number to land at. That snaps that he's eligible to play, that's the snaps that he's playing in.
Do you think there's a chance it could be like a career high snap share for him because of the situation? Because, I mean, you think about it. You have Jordan, like Research Rick made a good point the other day. Jordan Riley only played 1 snap with Dexter Lawrence last year.
Yeah, because they view him as a backup nose tackle?
Yeah, so like the backup nose tackle. And then you have Nacho, who is, only a run defender. He's not like a difference maker. He just does his job pretty well, plays with high energy. Ryder Anderson, we'll see what's him. DJ Davidson, another guy who's mostly a nose tackle. Do you think there's a chance that it's a career high snap share for him?
No, I think they like Nacho. I think Nacho's a better run defender. No.
And his career high was 54% in 2016 with Miami. He hit 52% in 2019 for Buffalo. And then, like you mentioned, the last year is 50, 43, 44. So let me ask you.
He would have to play well. If he's playing well and if he's playing at a higher level than what he's shown in the past and getting back to that some of that 9.5 sack season production, maybe he gives us 4 or 5 best case scenario this year, then I'm playing him more. But if it's 2.5 sack flat, just total flash Jordan Phillips, then I'm a no.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think he lands in like that 45%, which is basically what he's done the last 2 years
and that's
for
fine.
the Bills. Do you think he is we did this on Camp Battles, but so neither one of us think he's the the quote unquote starter. So, yeah, I think this was a good, vet minimum addition to a room that absolutely needed. They need someone who could give you at least some bit of a pass rush presence. It's still a huge weakness for the Giants.
They're in a hope and pray Dexter Lawrence does not get hurt situation.
Yeah, if even with Dexter Lawrence healthy, it's a weak group. If Dexter Lawrence gets injured, you are screwed on the interior. You have nothing there.
It's Drover.
That you can play on all 3 downs of the game. So, anything else on Jordan Phillips?
No, like I said, get ready to watch a Jordan Phillips sack on week 1, at least one.
Yeah, we kind of need that to happen to speak that into
because
existence.
I've been saying it too often, and if it doesn't happen, it'll be my fault that it doesn't happen.
I will be frustrated if he doesn't with you if he doesn't get it. So, all right, that's a player profile and projection. We will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, let's go Big Blue.